All right, Mannix, fundamentally, we sure the Celtics team has it?
No.
It's a feeling I've had for months that they're missing something. And it's a combination. If I had to do like a pie chart, what is the Celtics team missing? There's a toughness piece that I think it's missing. And I think they were definitely missing it last year too. And you saw Draymond exploit it. I don't know if that piece has necessarily gotten better. It's a great group of guys, right? Really respectful character guys. And I'm not saying they need to go out and get Dylan Brooks, but does this team need, you watched PJ Tucker last night. He did 7 illegal things during that game? He accidentally hit Tatum in the balls. Did he? Was it accidental? I don't know. He's setting screens, sticking his leg out. He's undercutting people on rebounds. His physicality was there. You watched Lowry on Sunday against the Knicks, just took over that game psychologically, all the stuff he was doing. Smart used to be the guy who did this stuff on the Celtics team. And it's not happening this year. You think Smart versus Harden. There was that famous Houston Celtics game a few years ago when he goaded Harden into that charge, and he really rose to the occasion against Harden. And that was one of the things I thought last night. Oh my God, he's going to do all the Marcus stuff against Harden. And it's he's at a different phase of his career now. So I guess I'd start there. Is this team missing a toughness that you need to win 4 rounds?
Let me say this first. There's no way PJ Tucker did that accidentally. You'll never get me to believe that. I've watched that a dozen times.
That's how I felt as well.
There's no way. He swings the right arm, and maybe he didn't mean to connect exactly where he did, but he meant to do something there. I'd be surprised if the NBA wasn't taking a pretty long look at it right now in the league office. It's hard to say that they're missing that when it comes to needing it to win a championship, because they showed really good mental toughness in the conference playoffs last year. Regardless of Middleton being out, being down 3-2 against Milwaukee and having Tatum go nuts in Game 6 and Grant Williams go nuts in Game 7. That's a guy they're missing. Whatever happened to him, he's someone they need. And then, look, going down to Miami and winning a Game 7 against Jimmy Butler and that team takes a certain level of mental toughness. And so when I think about the reasons they lost to Golden State in the finals, toughness isn't among the top 3 reasons to me. I think exhaustion was probably one of it. Inexperience was another one. I don't think they needed to go out and get that guy. I think maybe Marcus Smart could do more of that with this team because he really is the only one on that roster kind of built for that. But I don't think they necessarily need it. I just think they've had it on cruise control really since opening night. They picked up from Game 6 of the NBA Finals to Game 1 of the regular season in a good way. They kept all the momentum they built from January on of last season and were able to roll through. A few bumps along the way, January, February, some stuff came up, but they've just never really had to overcome real adversity up to this point. They've never had to deal with on a coaching level, on a leadership level. They never had to do that, with this group. But now they may have to. This game too it's kind of the ball game here. I don't think they're winning 4 out of 5 against Philadelphia. Now I think we're going to see if that same mental toughness that existed when Ime Udoka was the coach, when they were coming back against Milwaukee, beating Miami. Now is the first time all season long, I think, that we're going to see if that mental toughness is actually there.
Well, that's why I brought up the toughness thing, because they don't have Ime Udoka anymore.
Yeah.
And I felt like he was the toughest guy in that whole team last year. And I watched it. I saw it in person. He really held those guys accountable. He would get really mad when they drifted through certain stretches. I mean, they had the same end of the game crunch time stuff issues last year that they're having this year. But I did think that he added a certain element that is missing now.
And I keep going back to Jalen Brown. There was a sequence, I think it was 3.5, 4 minutes left in the game when Jalen Brown had the ball in transition and he just kind of stopped.
Pulled it back.
Yeah, he pulled it back, which I'm half kidding, but it's was Jalen Brown, protesting something or on strike, during the second half of this game? He had a quote after the game where somebody asked him about this and he said, I wanted to make sure my teammates were running with me. And I'm just reading that. I'm like, what does that even mean? I don't know. You're 8 for 10. You're the all NBA guy, probably. Like, you've got to be more assertive in these situations, force transition at times. I know a lot of times they're taking the ball out of the bucket because Harden was out of his mind, but like the fact that he took 10 shots, Bill, and it made 8 of them, and that was it in 42 minutes. 42 minutes of this guy, he takes 10 shots, was wild to me. That was the most wild statistic of that entire game, was that Jalen Brown wasn't more assertive. He's got to be that guy. Like, he and the people around him have been campaigning all year long to have him on the All-NBA team. He's got to be an All-NBA player in those moments. It can't just be Tatum. You can't be inbounding the ball to Smart. You've got to take advantage of these matchups because, not only is Philly bad in transition, without Embiid in there, they're pretty bad defensively, period. Like, you can attack
they can't protect the rim at all.
So, Jalen Brown needs to be aggressive.
It's ridiculous. There's like some small underlying stuff with this team that nothing major, right? But like you mentioned, the Jalen 10 shots thing. Sometimes it'll be a Tatum game and sometimes it'll be a Jalen game and one guy will back. Like, they've never totally figured out the seesaw with that. Jalen's had just a weird energy this whole season. There's been multiple moments with him where it's like, do you want to be here? Do you like it here? Is this a good situation for you? I have no idea what the effects of the KD trade rumors and the Ime situation was with him. You have the Smart situation where in various points this year, White and Brogdon were just playing way better than him. And Mazzulla, I think, was really afraid to not have Smart be the crunch time guy. That manifested itself in the Hawks series last. Now White's not playing well. Have you noticed that part?
Yeah.
Whatever's going on with that White, Brogdon, Smart thing, it's now affecting White. And White is starting to look like 2022 finals White a little bit.
I was going to say round 1 White of last year. Remember round 1? It was like, is he playable in these? He was too timid. He wasn't physical. Like, after round 1 of last year, he kind of became that guy. But I agree.
Then it veered back the other way.
Yeah,
so that whole, those 3 guys, that Brogdon finishes crunch time yesterday, but White was the 3rd best player in the team this year. Like, so you have that, and then the Rob, Al Horford. How much do we get out of Rob? How do we not? And then the Grant Williams thing is also weird. Who just doesn't play anymore.
Yeah, they've waved the white flag, it seems, on Grant Williams. What I was hearing when I was in Boston was, when Grant wasn't playing in that Atlanta series, was, well, he's going to play against Philly when Embiid's out there. He can be another body to throw at him. He can space the floor when Embiid's out there. So maybe if Embiid comes back, we'll see more out of Grant Williams. The Jalen stuff that you mentioned, unquestionably, from what I was told, the Kevin Durant trade rumors from last summer bothered Jalen a lot more than previous trade rumors did. Because, look, it's understandable. He just led the team to the finals. He was probably the Celtics' best player in the finals. And now we're back to this, where you're going to trade me, even for a player the caliber of Kevin Durant. From what I was told,
nobody coming out and saying, "Hey, those rumors are bullshit. We're not trading Jalen Brown."
And look, this from what I was told, this was something. These were a fire, I should say, that Brad Stevens and Ime Udoka at the time had to put out. Like, this was something they had to address with him specifically. The stuff with Jason, like previous iterations of the Celtics coaching staff would joke with me a little bit about this. Like, the your turn, my turn stuff was most prevalent in January when both these guys were trying to make All-Star team, right? Like, they both wanted to be on it. But usually after the All-Star, voting came out, they would be much more on the same page. And I think there's truth to that, because if you look at, especially last season, when they seem to be, at least in the Eastern Conference playoffs, in much better sync than they've been in years past. But now, you're right, like game 1 at least was, all right, it's the Jason Tatum show in this one. And Jalen's going to get his shots in transition every so often, but not be proactive in chasing it. Again, he took 20 shots per game in that Hawks series. 20 shots, and he took half that in game 1. He doesn't have to be 20, 25 every night, but he's got to be between 15 and 20 for this team, I think, to have the kind of balance it needs to beat a good team like Philadelphia.